But right now, what's in front of our face here is this units of pph, ppb, and ppm. So we're going to want to, you know, convert using from pph to ppb and ppm and whatnot, whatever's necessary to make sense. Or if you're trying to compare some data that you have with some, for example, data that's been published by the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the measurement you have is in parts per million, but the biological effects unit is in parts per billion, you may have to be able to convert. So it's a handy skill to have. So you need to have some, I guess the question would be, well, for example, the example I just showed you, 1 kilogram equals 1,000 grams, that's just the metric unit for mass, and a kilo was defined as 1,000. And so that's how we knew that 1,000 grams equals 1 kilogram, because the kilo is 1,000. So what about this business with pph, ppb, and ppm? Well, we can define these numbers in a similar way. For example, let's see, one part per 100 equals 10,000 parts per million. Okay. Now, in the metric system, you have to memorize that, you know, a kilo is equal to 1,000 or 10 to the third. You just have to memorize it. But in this case, we already know, you know, what 100 is. It's 100, or it's 100. We already know what a million is. It's 1,000,000,000. So we know the definitions of what those words mean. So we don't have to memorize this equality like we would in the case of the metric system. Instead, what you can understand is the concept one part per 100 is the same as 1 per 100. And 1 part per million is the same as 1 over a million. So in order for 1 part per 100 to be equal to 1 part per million, we have to have, in order for 1 part per 100 to be equal to a ppm, we have to have 10,000 parts per million, okay? Because 1 over 100 is like 1 over 10 to the 2. This is 10 to the 5 over 10 to the 7, and that was same as 1 over 10 to the 2. Okay, so it's just base 10 math, basically. So 1 part per the 100 is the same as 10,000 parts per million, so that's where we come up with this equality. Okay, and once you have that equality, you can write unit factors from that equality. 1 part per 100 over 10,000 parts per million is the same as 1, because it's an equality. So you can do conversions in a very analogous way that you do with the metric system, going from pph, ppb, ppm. Okay, so I just told you what 1 part per 100 is the same as 10,000 parts per million. 1 part per 100 is equal to, what do you think, parts per billion? Okay, a billion is 1,000 times more than a million. So what do you think? It's just going to be 10 million parts per billion. 1 part per 100 is the same as 10 billion parts per 100. So you could make a similar type of a conversion or unit factor for parts per 100 to parts per billion. What about the relationship between parts per million and parts per billion? Well, 1 part per million is the same as 1,000 parts per billion. Okay? And you can do the math like I did up here to see that the ratios are the same. All right? Speaking of ratios, using ratios is another way to convert these types of concentration units, parts per 100, parts per million, and parts per billion. I'm going to show you both ways. I'm going to show you how to convert using dimensional analysis and show you how to convert using ratios.